Philly's favorite 100.7 FM and 99.5 HD3. Good morning, everyone. It's Chris, and we're getting started with Real Talk with the real estate diva, Desiree McDuffie. We have a great show in store today with a very special guest. Her and Des have become some of the most powerful voices of finance here on Philly's Favor, so such a privilege to have them together on the show. Stay tuned. We're getting started with a great show. Let's go.
This is Desiree, Real Estate Diva. I am here with another episode of Real Talk with the Real Estate Diva, and we have a lit show for you guys this week. We have the financial guru, Miss Siedah Guess. Yep. Okay, she has the financial program of Young and Financially Lit, and she's going to be sharing some awesome information with us today. So thank you for coming in, Miss Saedah.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm on Real Talk with the Real Estate Diva.
Hey.
Excited to be here. Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. Again, right, I always talk about people that helped me along this journey. And we did the entrepreneurship class at the Church of Christian Compassion, right? Yep. So Saedah can honestly attest to how this is truly out of my comfort zone in doing this, because even when we were doing the class, like, I really don't like to talk in front of people and all of that stuff. Like, I like to be in the background, let people but this is, I'm stepping out on faith, right? And I'm doing this, so it was just like, I'm gonna do it. So here we are
doing it.
Listen, you're doing it, and you're doing it well. Ooh, and a lot of times we look at ourselves as who we used to be versus realizing who we are now. So, like, this ain't, I'm not your first guest.
No, you're not. You're not.
You already in this.
Yeah. But I can say you're an inspiration, because I will give that to you. Because here, I pay attention to everything. Yes. I really do. I pay attention to everything. And when we would be teaching the classes, her presence in the class was so powerful. Wow. And I was like, tag, I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to stand up here with such confidence and, project this information or give this information out to these people. And here I am. I don't have an audience in front of me, but here I am on the radio doing it, right?
They are listening. And I think there's so many ways to communicate with people, because you'll be surprised. Some people aren't receptive to that. Some people really are drawn to somebody who's more quiet and more reserved. And so from running a financial brokerage, I have agents that meet everybody's different needs, because I know that sometimes my presence, while it seems great, can also be overpowering for some people. And when you're talking about money or real estate or things like that, everybody needs help, and people are different in so many facets that the more people, and I think that's what made our class work so well, is that you had people that would come up to you and be like, can you help me with this? Because maybe, in the class, it wasn't there for them. So I think that's really a great dynamic in building a team. But one of the things that I want to say, and I want the people to know this, how we really connected. So I was teaching a class, again, at the Community of Compassion, CDC. And I think it might have been a class on investing or something like that. And you might have been in there.
Yes.
And somebody had asked a question about wholesaling.
Oh, remember we were talking about that?
Somebody had asked a question about wholesaling. And like, you was like on the edge of your chair, like leaning in. And I was like, I don't know what she's going to say, right? But anyway, we got to the point where you and I connected about how when you are doing things that are right for people, you don't put them in a position to hurt them. And
Absolutely.
So while, wholesaling is just a part of the real estate business, if you don't do it from a good place, you really could end up taking advantage of people. And so our eyes met, and we was like, yep. Yes. And that's when like, it doesn't matter in business or entrepreneurship, you want to be aligned, and that's something that I'm learning more and more in my journey, that, all money is not good money. All connections are not good connections. You want to make sure that you're really connected with people who are your people. And so when our eyes locked on that moment, I was like, this is my people right here. Yeah. This is my people.
It's funny because what was this about 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
Was it 2 or 3 weeks ago? Yep. Chris asked me, when did I like get that fire or passion or realize that I have this true passion about getting this information out there. And I mentioned that it was literally that moment.
Yeah.
At that conference.
Wow.
And when the young gentleman asked about wholesaling, like I literally rose up and I said, no, if like you said, it is a part of the real estate world. It's nothing we can do about it. But, again, I'm not going to get onto that horse right now, but but I'm not an advocate for taking advantage of people. I want to help people. So and that's when we connect.
And I think where we complement it is that my focus is educating people so that they do not get taken advantage of, because while the reason why people can do that is because we lack knowledge around finances, about financial literacy. And so that's why we're here. And that's how we got Young and Financially Lit.
Yes, Young and Financially Lit. So you mentioned part of why you started, but tell us a little bit more about your background and, what makes you the expert in financial literacy.
Yeah, so it's funny because I never wanted to be in finance. I actually never even wanted to be an entrepreneur. Nowhere on my radar, any of that. So my background is in business strategy consulting. So I've worked with several Fortune 100 companies, CEOs, to help understand where their company is today, what their vision is in tomorrow, and how do we build plans to help them get from point A to point B. And so I was pretty good, out of college. I know people have horror stories, but mine wasn't one of them. I was like, I'm moving on up like Georgia Wheezy. So what happened was I reached a point where I was out earning my parents by 3 times. And there were things about money that I just did not know. And there wasn't anybody around me that could really help me with those things. You know what I mean? Like I had the basics, work really hard, save your money in the bank, be a giver, make sure you pay your bills on time. But when I'm in there and they're talking about 401ks and mutual funds and sub accounts and I'm like,
all of that stuff. You're like, what?
I didn't know any of that stuff.
Ira, who's that?
Who's that? And we can talk about this a little bit later, but buying a house, buying my first property was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, because a lot of what I was taught, apply for different programs and here's how you can get this relief and that relief. I was middle class, and middle class is one of the worst classes you can be,
Girl, yes.
And I just kept hearing, you don't qualify, you don't qualify, you don't qualify. And I'm just like,
well, what happened to the first time home buyer programs and all this grant money everybody is getting?
What happened? And it was just like, that was how I was prepared. But when there's a next level, I'm like, I don't know this stuff. So I really said, okay, well, that's not an excuse, because at the time I'm only like 21, 22, right?
Oh, nice.
I really need to learn this because it's only going to get bigger. And so I started learning about financial literacy for myself. And as I did, people started seeing what I was doing and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just learning and trying to get better. And so I started sharing what I was doing with other people, but then people were frustrated. And I think one of the biggest things that leaves people in frustration is when you can educate someone, but not show them how to actually do it.
How to actually implement it.
And so I said, well, that's not helping either, because they have a bunch of knowledge, but nothing to do with it. And so we hear this saying all the time that knowledge is power, but that's only a half complete statement. Applied knowledge is power, is what you actually do with this. So I said, well, how can I infiltrate the system? How can I learn? So that's when I got my first financial licenses, studied to get licensed in the financial industry, so that not only could I educate people, but also then help them implement what it is I was talking about. And I think a lot of times financial literacy, financial education is not a lot of times, is not taught in schools. It's not taught in the household. And one of the biggest ways I've learned in corporate America to really make change is to infiltrate the system.
Absolutely.
You can have people on the outside, but you also need people on the inside who can advocate, who can make change. And I knew that was a space that I was good in. I was good in the corporate world. So I wanted to keep that same realm in that aspect. And so, so that was way back almost 10 years ago. And then fast forward, we just help, hundreds of families, individuals, small businesses grow and improve their finances. And Young and Financially Lit actually
Not fit.
listen, I'm a coach, y'all, but I'm not that kind of coach. Okay, do not come to me, ask me for fitness advice. I'm on my own journey. I got my own coach for that. Okay, can't help you there. But that really came from so when you're licensed, when you have financial licenses, there is a compliance and restriction on what it is you can do. And so I wanted to give more to our people, right?
Absolutely.
To our community. And there's a real need for education there, but it's a little bit different based on, the compliance world in the financial services industry. So Young and Financially Lit was born because so many of my clients kept saying to me, if I only knew this when I was younger.
Yeah.
I wish I knew this when I was younger. Right. And so that's the whole concept of the name, where it came from, is that this is all the information that you needed to know when you were younger. And so you still can get it because it's not too late.
No.
And if you are young, you still can get it. And we're lit because I make it fun, but that's just a play on the word literate, right? Financial literacy. So I'm excited for what we're doing, for where we're going. And, that's kind of how I got here.
Yeah, listen. I mean, it definitely sounds like our stories are very similar as far as the passion and giving back to the community. And as you said, infiltrating the system, right? So the best way for you and I to be effective in helping people is for us to jump in there where the people truly do need the help. We can't be here,
Right.
No.
Yeah, I put my hands up, y'all. I know y'all can't see. But, we have to actually meet people where they are.
Yeah.
So I'm passionate about that. And I love to hear about other people being so passionate about educating our community, because it's definitely needed.
Yeah. It's a space that's needed, but it also gets overlooked, and when you look at the grand scheme of things, financial literacy is only required to be taught in 6 states right now throughout the United States.
Really? Wow.
And Pennsylvania is not one of them. It's not one of those states. It's like Utah, Tennessee, where people actually do well financially, and they understand it, and the demographics look a little different. So it's easier to say, this is something that our children need to know, but in inner cities and schools where we really need to understand that we're not taught those things. And a lot of it has to do with, keeping people ignorant on purpose.
Absolutely. For sure.
Because companies can't make money if you understand how they work.
Exactly.
They make money off of ignorance. And so, it's a part of the plan. So being passionate about it is something you definitely have to do, because there's a lot more than just teaching somebody 1 + 1 = 2.
Absolutely.
You really have to understand where people are coming from, what they're going through, what their mindset is, what experiences they've had prior to getting here, and how do you overcome those things prior to even moving forward.
And doing it non-judgmental.
And my clients will tell you we have a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Great. So you mentioned that there's 6 states in the country where financial literacy is required. Yeah. At what age do they start with the financial literacy, or what age do you recommend that a person starts with financial literacy for their children?
Yeah, financial literacy really starts in the home, and it can start very early. I teach, my son is 1, and I teach him about financial literacy. I really started teaching my daughter about financial literacy. She's probably the real guru here. I really started teaching her about financial literacy when she was around 5, 6 years old. And, at that time she was buying stocks, and I got her first investment when she was 3. And so she's really, been into it, but it doesn't, you don't have to be a certain age. Financial literacy starts with how you acclimate people to money, how you are socialized with money. So a lot of us do things financially. We have different financial behaviors based on what we saw in our homes. So for example, I'll give you an example for me. And if my mama is listening, she's going to be like, girl. But anyway, one of the things that I learned growing up is my mom was very into designer stuff. So we had Jordans, furs, I'm gonna date myself, hush puppies, Rockaway, you know what I mean? Like we've always had like great designer things. But then there were some things that didn't get paid, but we look good, but some of the things in the household didn't get paid. That is a lesson in financial literacy, because what that says is that, I may not take care of some of my responsibilities, but I'm going to look good, and in that, what that triggered for me is when I got older, I said, I'm never buying anything designer, because I put it together where that if you buy designer things, you don't take care of all of your responsibilities. And so when I met my husband, he was like, you gonna keep wearing them same shoes? They got the hole in it. Like, I know you make good money. And I was just like, nope. I'm gonna wear these shoes so they have a hole in it, because of how I was socialized with money. So in your home, it's very important to be mindful of the socialization, because they may not be able to trade stocks. They may not be able to invest. They may not be able to buy a home, but they are watching how you handle money, how you feel about money. If you're constantly telling your children, no, you can't have that, money doesn't grow on trees, you're putting into them limitations about how they feel about money. And so a lot of times what we see in the community is that, and this is why our community gets overlooked a lot of the times, because you have to combat those emotional occurrences that we've had, those emotional experiences that we've had. The reason why it's hard for us to think about, let me go get a $500,000 home, is because we're scared of debt. We're terrified of it. You shouldn't go do that. Oh, no.
I can say I was scared of debt.
I was terrified of debt.
Absolutely. I'm still scared of debt, to be honest.
Terrified of debt.
Yeah.
But when you look at wealth and talking about, OPM and leveraging other people's money to really build your wealth, it's like, and I'll be honest, sometimes I'm still like, I don't know. I saw how this went left. Where if you have a good example of it. So you should really be conscious of that with your children. How are you socializing them with money? Because that carries with them a lot longer than, investing.
Absolutely. You mentioned a couple of things, but one, I know I cannot be the only person that wants to ask this question. What do you teach a 1-year-old about financial literacy?
That was my question too. Yeah, because there are adults who are overwhelmed by starting to learn about financial literacy and those things. So how do you make it accessible to a 1-year-old?
To a 1-year-old. Yeah, so it's really funny. So one of the things that we do, my children are privileged, And so I'm thankful for that. So, but we try to be mindful of how they have the privilege, And so my son is like, he'll see an apple and he's like, apple? And he wants an apple. Then he sees a banana. He's like, banana? Or he's nana? And he wants a nana. And then he'll see his little snacks and he's like, cookie? He wants a cookie. And then he just wants everything now. So I'm just like, do you want the apple or do you want the nana? Because you can't have both right now. Even though you see them both there, you can't have both right now. And he's just like, apple, nana. He wants both of them. So I'm just like, no, you can have one of them right now. So he may say nana, he'll get the nana. And so what that teaches him, financial literacy, is that it teaches him about instant gratification.
Discipline.
Yeah. Just because he sees it right there. If you eat all the apples and bananas today, it's not no more apples and bananas coming down the line. So that's one of the things that we have to learn. So, no, he's not like investing yet. Even though he has investment portfolios, he hasn't gotten to that point yet. But teaching them small things like that is very important, because a lot of times as adults, when we say things like we have a shopping problem, or we have a gambling problem, or we just really love Starbucks cider so much, it's not that we have financial problems. It's really that we have, I want to be careful with my words, discipline problems, right? How we think about money, how we feel about money. A lot of times people can't control they know the bank account is low. We know the bank account says $100. But Beyonce tickets is coming out.
Oh, God. They said people were taking money out of their 401ks.
For sure.
For Beyonce tickets.
For sure.
No.
And it's not that we have a Beyonce problem. We have a discipline problem.
Yes, discipline.
We want everything when we want it, how we want it. And we don't care what we have to do financially to make it happen. You know, it's why the same reason you go to Forever 21 and then you do an Affirm Afterpay payment.
Yes.
And I'm like, the shirt is only $12.70.
Yes.
You know, if you can't afford the $12.70, do we have enough discipline to say, here's what I have, here's what I can get? But most of us don't have that discipline, so we want everything that our eyes can see. And so what I teach my son is like, yes, because you see apples and bananas and he really loves blackberries, don't let him see a blackberry, you know, or he sees his cookies, like he wants it all at the one time. So for it's like, no, like you can't have it all. Even though it's there, you can't have it all right now because you have to learn that thing because it'll, you know, take you further in life.
Absolutely. You know, one thing that comes to mind, it was a video I saw online, and a lady took her child to, I don't know, Walmart, Kmart, wherever. And the child wanted a toy. And he had his money. And the lady said, okay, pay for your toy. So he's looking at his mom like you're going to pay for it? She's like, no, you pay for it. You have your money. You pay for it. So the cashier is standing there. So the lady is like, okay, how much is the toy? $9. Let's just say $9. So the boy, he counts out his money. Let's say $3, and he stops. No, it's $9. Well, he don't want to give it up, you know? Yeah. And she makes him, you know, no. And he's like, no, I don't have anything left. Well, do you want the toy or do you want the money? Which one do you want? And he ended up giving all his money for the toy. And then he started crying. So the mom asked him, was the toy worth it?
That's good.
And he said no.
Yeah, that's good.
He would have rather have had his money. So I think that things like that, you know, are things that we should start. I don't have children, but you know what I mean. We should start teaching our children.
We should. And one of the things right now that a lot of millennials struggle with is we say things, and Chris is probably going to laugh, like adulting is hard or adulting is ghetto or whatever the case may be, is because we were not prepared for what it really takes to be an adult, what it really takes to own a home. And a lot of times our parents, and no fault to themselves, they thought they were doing us justice by doing it in secrecy. You know, I'm going to pay for you to go to college, but most people don't know their parents took that out their 401k.
Yes.
So when I'm sitting down with adults now, they're just like, you know, I don't have a retirement because I wanted to help my kids go to school. If their kids had known that, they probably would have, you know, shaped up a little bit more in school or made it, you know, whatever the case may be. People don't know that mom had to work 2 and 3 jobs. Dad had to, you know, work and hustle on the side or whatever the case may be in order for you to have the things that you had. So therefore, we get into this adult world with the mentality of go to school, get a good job, work really hard. And we're like, this doesn't work. You know, I have a job, but I'm still not making it. You know, I thought the food was just supposed to
just show up.
You know, and so a lot of young people struggle making that transition into adulthood because we never really were prepared because our parents didn't really have those conversations with us at a young age. And again, not because our parents are bad, but because they love us. They want to protect us, right?
Yes.
They probably worked really hard to get to where they want to be. And we said things like, I never want my kids to struggle. I never want my kids to go through what I went through. So let me give to them. And then when they get in the real world, it's like, it don't work like that.
Absolutely.
You know? So I love that example that you shared about the young boy paying for his toys.
Yeah. And you just mentioned as parents, a lot of times, and I witness this quite often, especially with the millennial generation, because I think that you guys came from a generation of people who may have had it a little better financially, right? So, you know, you want to give to your children the things that you didn't have. We may have struggled. You know, financially. So we're like, you know, I will never allow my child to struggle the way I did. So I'm going to give. But like you said, if it isn't coupled with the education, and I witnessed this when they get out there into the world, that's when a lot of them start doing things to be able to maintain that lifestyle that they had as children. You know, they start doing some illegal things or whatever, unethical, whatever it is, you know, that they do because they were given everything. They were given, like you said, the brand name clothes and, you know, hair done all the time, nails, everything else. And when you have to pay your own bills, it's like,
it doesn't add up.
Yeah,
Right.
it's not adding up. How is this going to work? It takes sacrifice.
It does.
You know?
And I think that's something too, like as we continue to elevate, to grow, to make more money, to excel in the corporate world as we're doing, getting into investing, like it's hard because it's like you really want them, not to struggle. But I think there's a good way that you can do that with your children. Like, so for example, my daughter, she pays for a lot of her own stuff. She's very good with money. But I do make her pay for a lot of her wants, things that she needs. So for example, she had a field trip coming up and the field trip was $47, right? And I'm like, okay, I'll give you half of it and you got to put the other half from your money. And so when I started doing with her in her school, they go on field trips like twice a month. And she's like, they want how much?
Yeah, it's
Wait,
different.
they want to go where? To do what? Because now it feels different. Is she still going to go? Yeah, I didn't go on field trips. I had to be in the people that sat back in the class, while everybody else went. So does she still get to go? Yes, but she has some skin in the game. She understands it. It allows her to give value
There you
to
go.
it. When our we have a house cleaner. When our house cleaner comes, she has two options. You can either pay to have your room clean, or you can clean your room and get money. Which one do you want? Because see, I work hard for a housekeeper, not you.
Not you. Exactly. I love that.
So this is how this works, right? Because I don't want her growing up like, oh, like no, I don't have to do anything. Like we have a housekeeper that comes to the house. No. For your stuff,
That's powerful.
you can either use your money and pay, or if you clean it yourself, you can get paid.
And that's one of the things that I find that is missing, is that, a lot of the older generations, they had chores, right? And you got an allowance. And you had whatever you wanted, your needs were met, right?
Yep.
But if you wanted anything extra, you had to get on your own out of your allowance. And if it didn't add up, you want to save this week's allowance and next week's allowance and so on and so forth. But then it got to the point where we just buy, buy the sneakers, buy this, buy that, and buy that. So I love what you're doing because it is teaching your children responsibility and the value of money, right? I remember years ago, I had a situation, my stepdaughters, we went to New York. And they wanted, it was like 11 o'clock at night and they want Starbucks. So I'm like, all right, where the heck we going to find a Starbucks open now? All right, we are in New York. We'll find a Starbucks. So we went down underground somewhere. We found the Starbucks. I'm standing there now. Each of them were given money to spend. Well, before we got there, they turn and look at me. Y'all have money? Y'all want a Starbucks? Buy your Starbucks.
Here we are, right?
Here we are. Buy your Starbucks, right? But they didn't, guess what? They didn't buy their Starbucks. They walked away. Oh, but I thought y'all wanted Starbucks so badly. Spend your money. So it changes when it comes time to you spending your own money versus spending someone else's money. And that's also important when it comes to people with credit.
Yep. Yeah.
And I know you were probably about to, get into that too, because the credit also gives that instant gratification.
Yeah.
It's a false reality that you have this money available to you when you truly don't. Because you talked about that with the afterpay and all that stuff.
Yeah. And I think that's so good. And we think that, there's a switch that happens from being a child to being an adult. Right? Like we think there's this switch and like, oh, as soon as I become an adult, I'll leave all these childish things behind. It doesn't really happen. Because I have a lot of time where I'm just like, am I an adult for real? Like I still kind of feel like a little bit, there's no switch that just kicks it over. So those habits that you develop as a young person, as a child, will carry with you if you don't learn how to correct them into adulthood, which is why we see, so many adults in the situations that they're in now. We are taught to spend. 54% of Americans are in debt. 44% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency.
Wow.
Because we aren't saved, because we are spenders, right? We are consumers in that way. So we really want to make sure that, we can break somebody's habit. But that's why we're listening to Real Talk with the Real Estate Diva. Okay.
Yes.
Saedah did the plug because Chris used to get on me about not.
But it's platforms like this. It's people like Des. It's people like myself. It's so many things out there. But this is what you should be tuned into. This is what you should be learning, because a lot of us can agree we have to unlearn some things.
Yes.
Our brains are full. We got a lot going on, so we gotta unlearn some things, clear some spaces first, so that we can receive new information that's given to us. So I really appreciate you for doing this and for having this platform and for sharing this and getting this out to people who really need to learn more about it.
Yes, I mean, that's exactly what this is for. To piggyback on it really quickly, I was literally just 2 or 3 days ago, I was talking to a cousin of mine, and he's 50. And he was literally telling me, I just found out how to properly pay my bills.
Yeah.
Wow.
At 50 years old, you're just figuring it out or finding out. He said, I had no one to teach me, how to pay my bills. So at 50 years old, he finally got it. So this is important.
And good for him, because some people don't never figure it out.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
Congratulations to him. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it is, because, he was adamant about figuring it out. I mean, he struggled enough. You struggle enough, you're like, okay, there has to be a better way.
Yeah.
And he figured it out. He's one of my favorite cousins too. So I'm not gonna say who he is, but I love you, cuz. He listens every week too, so
That's good. That's good.
yeah. But so this information is extremely
Important. So I think we're talking a little bit about debt and where that leads people, right? So instant gratification is one of the biggest things that leads us into debt. And if anybody out there listening is anything like me, I was terrified of debt. And I think we kind of started to talk about that a little bit, because in my household, when a bill collector called, it would be like, Mom, the phone, who is it? I'm make something up. Verizon, tell them I'm not here.
Yeah.
After they heard my whole conversation, she's not here. Tell them your mother's not home, right? So we've got to do some sort of those things. So I was like, I don't never want to be in those situations. And before I turned 18, I had things in my name. So I know none of you out there have ever gone through this. Okay, I'm just talking about me. And my mama is listening. She knows I'm gonna tell this story, but I love her. And I'm grateful for it. And I had a fear of debt. Your high school counselor said, when you get on that college campus, they're going to try to give you a bunch of credit cards.
Yeah.
Don't get any, credit cards. But yet here I am taking out student loans. Okay, all willy nilly, and I'm just like, she don't really want this money back, like Sally Mae. Like, she be all right. You know what I mean? Like, she don't want me. Like, it's other people out there she's really looking for. And then when it came time to purchasing, my first major purchase was a vehicle. And that's when I found out that having no debt was worse than having bad debt. Having no credit was worse than having bad credit. I said, well, I've been avoided it my entire life. And essentially what happens is you got to think about it this way. If somebody borrows money from you and they don't pay you back, and then you give them money again and they don't pay you back, and you give them money again, they don't pay you back, for a fact, this person's not going to pay you back.
Yeah.
Or for a fact, this person is going to pay you back, but they're going to be late on it, okay? If a stranger walks up off the street and asks you for money,
you don't know what's going on.
I don't know you.
Yeah.
I don't know you at all. The answer is just no. And I didn't realize that. I thought me avoiding debt was good. But then it turns out it was bad. It's like when you go to college and they say, you can't get a job because you need experience. Well, how am I supposed to get experience unless I get
a job?
Unless I get a job. And so it was really hard. And so I said, I gotta learn these things. I gotta, get better with it. And then understanding that, and I think this is so important for us, and I hope this really helps somebody, understanding that we are not our decisions. We are not our mistakes. We are not our choices. Every single day we grow as people.
Absolutely.
So you may have messed your credit cards up when you were 18. You may have messed them up when you were 20 in your early lives, but you can grow as a person from then. You can learn. You can get this information. You can get educated. You can make different decisions. You don't have to continue in those same patterns or behavior that you saw maybe your parents or your grandparents do or people around you do, or that even you did yourself, right? Every single day we have a choice
Absolutely.
to do better. And so I hope that we do better. So then, I started learning about not being scared of it, but understanding it. And, we know fear stands for false evidence appearing real. So I had this false belief that if I got debt, I was going to mess it up. If I got it, I wasn't going to be able to pay it back.
Because that was your experience.
Because that was my experience. But what I found is that education breeds confidence. And that's why we're so passionate about educating people, because the more you know about something, the more confident you are.
Absolutely.
If somebody says, "What's your name?" You'll tell them your name. Very confident. How do you know that's your name? Because I've been hearing it my entire life. That's what people call me. That's what I answer to. Right? Same thing. It comes with financial literacy. You have to be educated more and more, and you have to absorb it more and more. So now you can make educated decisions. You can make confident decisions. You can understand what the interest rate is. Okay. And so back to my first car, I'm like, wow, this is rough. I don't even have any credit. So I'm like, okay, I really needed a car at that point in time because I had my daughter. So I'm like, okay, I'll take the car. But I had already started learning about financial literacy, right? And this was part of my journey that I shared with y'all in the beginning of how I got here. And so I said, okay, I'll take the car. My interest rate was 11.9%, 11.99% was my interest rate. But I was like, it's okay. I got a plan, right? Because I had started understanding interest. I'm like, I got a plan. I need to build some credit first. So I knew that. So I did a few things actually before I even got the car. I looked at my consumer report. The first thing I did was and this is not advice. I'm not giving anybody any financial advice. I'm just telling y'all what I did, what worked for me at that point in time. I consolidated my student loans. I knew my credit was going to take a hit, but I was okay with that. Because see, I also understood about instant gratification. Okay, so I had a plan, consolidated my student loans. I knew my credit was going to take a hit.
Why does your credit take a hit?
Because it closed out some of my history.
Yes,
right. It closed out some of my credit. My credit.
I just wanted you to tell them why.
So I knew it was going to take a hit, and I knew that the consumer reports they updated the information about every 30 to 60 days when it would be on all three reports. Right. So I let it take a hit, but then it would come back up with my consistent payments. Okay. So I did that. Boom. They got it back up. So my credit score was a little bit in a better position. So I went back, got the car. It was still at 11%, but I was working on something in the background. Okay. So you got to have a plan. So you got to be educated. So I said, that's great. I'll take it. Okay. So I took the car at 11%. That then increased my credit score again. So now now I had some credit, right? So I made those payments for 3 months because I knew that's when the credit bureaus would update and now everything looked good. And I said, joke's on you, right? So here's exactly right. But let me be very clear about this. I made sure that my monthly payment was something I could still afford. So my monthly payment ended up being like $300 and some dollars at that point in time with the 11% interest rate. After 3 months, my credit is now really good even more. I went and refinanced, right, with my credit union. They gave me an interest rate for 1.99%.
Wow. Yes.
Right? Before, they wouldn't even look at me because I didn't have any credit. They gave it to me for 1.99%. So now my monthly payment is like $200. Nice. But what do? I still continue to pay the $300 because now I want to beat them at their game, right? Now I want to get it paid off even faster because I can afford it. So when you have financial literacy, when you sit at the table, you can have a plan, you can have a strategy, you can position yourself not to be talked at, but to be able to negotiate, to feel empowered when you're making those decisions. They're like, okay, that's good. I got a plan though. Watch this, and then we end up paying the car off early and actually saving money. And I'll even tell you about my whole car buying strategy and where I even got the car from in the first place. Wow. Right. Where now my car still holds value. If I wanted to sell it, I absolutely could and still get money from it. And that was years ago that happened. But when you understand your debt, when you understand the interest rate, and I think that's so important. A lot of times we just look at the monthly payment. And I know you see this in real estate as well too, right? Oh, I'm just looking at the monthly payment. But I want y'all to know this. Amateurs make money on the front end. Experts make money on the back end. The interest rate is really where they're making their money. So they know that most people are just going to see that front end payment and say, okay, yeah, I can afford that. You know, yeah, my mortgage is only X amount of dollars, you know, $1,200. I can afford that. But if your interest rate is extremely high and you don't really understand how you could, you know, what you could do with that in the future, and you just keep it there, they're going to make, you know, 2 times, 3 times the amount of money on the end because the only thing you saw was that front end
payment
number. Yep.
Yeah. So speaking about home buying, right? I'm a real estate agent. So,
the real estate diva.
That's right.
Thank you. So what can a person do to prepare themselves financially so that they can move forward and, you know, prepare themselves to be able to purchase a house?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've done a lot of seminars with real estate agents, like first-time home buyer seminars, because what's really important is that when you get to your real estate agent and you get to your financing person, is that you really want to have a plan. And I shared with y'all, buying my first property was one of the hardest things I ever had to do because they ask you a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And you really got to know where your money is. You know, they want to know what's coming in, what's coming out, who put money here, why you overdraft that there. And I was like, ooh, like, y'all in my business for real, you know? So some things that I encourage people to do is, one, the first thing you want to do is you want to know why you're buying a house. Why are you buying a house? Because I want a place to live, Saedah. Duh. You know, but seriously, why? What is the purpose for buying the house? And a lot of times we don't know. A lot of times we're just buying it just to buy it. And we do that with a lot of our financial goals. Like, how is this helping you in the plan? Once you understand why you want to buy the house, where are you buying the house? You know, where are you buying the house?
And why are you buying it there?
And why are you buying it there? I knew for a fact when I purchased my first property, I wanted to buy it in an area, like my goal, I was trying to avoid paying for private school. You know, so I said I want to purchase a home in an area that had a great school district where my school taxes may only be like $4,000, which would be a lot better than me paying $40,000
for private school.
For private school, because I told you I was middle class and I ain't qualified for nothing. You know, and that was new for me because growing up, I grew up on government assistance, qualified for everything. So I was like, hold up, this is, you know, got something different here. But you really got to start asking yourself those questions. What are the goals you're trying to achieve? You know, is this a short-term property for you? This your forever home? You know, what is it that's important to you? And then once you do that, the next question you want to ask yourself is, okay, how much are you comfortable paying every single month? Because once you get in there and you start seeing these gorgeous $1 million homes, $2 million homes, you're going to start wanting the jacuzzi, you know, you're going to start wanting all the things, the walk-in closet, the granite countertops, and you can get yourself into trouble. Absolutely. So I tell people, set a goal, like what's the amount of money that you're looking to pay every single month? And be okay with that. When I got my first pre-approval, I think they like pre-approved me for like $800,000. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, I don't even want anything that big. But when they're looking at your debt to income ratio, I made great income. I didn't have a lot of debt. So they were just like, hey, you can buy a house for $800,000. Imagine if I went and bought a house for $800,000. That would have been, for me at that point in time, not the best decision to make. So I had a number in my head and I'm just like, no, I want my mortgage payment to be $600. I'm not lying, y'all. $600 every single month. I know, because my dad's mortgage was $600 every single month. So I'm like, okay, his mortgage is $600. My mortgage is going to be $600 every single month. So that's what I want to pay. And then I had to learn.
Like what? Where you going to
$600 back then. Yes. Okay, not at the time that I was paying it. So I was like, okay, well, good. Well, I know every single month based on what I'm saving, you know, where I'm having and budgeting, I want to be around X amount of dollars. That's what you really want to look at, because you don't want to be what we call house poor, right? You don't want to be house poor where all of your money is going into your house. The second thing is you want to make sure that you look at your budget, that you still have money to live. You still have money to furnish the house. You still have money for incidentals because now you own it.
Yep.
Okay, so that number of what I can pay every single month should not be the top of your budget. It shouldn't be that's it, and then you got to eat, maybe tuna fish all month. So you want to be somewhere comfortable with that. Now, once you do that, you got to start saving. And when you're looking to save up for a down payment for a home, what I know is that we as people, we can save. So I want you to say that. If you're saying to yourself right now, I can't save, I'm a horrible saver, I want you to say, I can save.
I can save.
Yeah, there you go. I didn't expect y'all to do it, But yes, right. I can save. We can save. But the secret to saving is that you have to be saving for a purpose. You have to be saving for a cause. A lot of times we feel like we can't save because we're trying to save in a general bucket. I'm going to save $300 every single month. I'm like, for what? Because it's just for my savings. But then we wonder why we go touch the savings. See, it's easy for us to touch something or move something around that doesn't have any meaning or purpose for us.
Have a why to it.
So think about it. Like if you were trying to go on a trip or buy something that you really wanted, you're able to save the money for it. But when you're just saving just to be saving, it's a little like, I can take it out, put it back, and never really put it back. And then you go through the whole thing. So set a goal. I recommend that you open up an online savings account, some sort of account that's not attached to your checking account, out of sight, out of mind, puts a little bit of firewall on there.
Yep.
Things that you have to do, you should do them automatically. Meaning if you have to save for this house or this property, you should put that on something that comes out of your account automatically every single month and goes somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Things that you want to do, I highly suggest that you do them in cash. Because when you want Starbucks every single day. So if you put $50 aside in cash for Starbucks, and then, for the week, and then Tuesday comes and you reach in there and there's no money, you like, did I really just spend $50? And now trigger something mentally for you. See, the things that you want to do, you want to have a mental trigger for it. Things you physically touch triggers for you mentally. Things that you have to do, you don't want to have a mental trigger for it because you don't want to feel the quote unquote pain associated with it. You just want it to happen for you naturally. So start saving up for it. Be, more aggressive about it, but don't just save for the down payment. Okay. Because this is the part that tripped me up with real estate. Because you hear these things like, oh, you just need a down payment. The down payment is only 3.5% if you're using the FHA home. And so I'm like, okay. And then they were just like, oh, there's closing costs. I'm like, no, it's only supposed to be 3.5% down payment. I went to the seminar, but no, then there's closing costs and then you have to pay for the appraisal. And I was like, maybe
the inspection,
things of those nature. So don't just save for the down payment and say, I'm ready. There's more things that have to go to it. Save for the down payment, so forth, but also save for the basic furniture that you may need or have a plan for it because nobody wants to buy a brand new house and be sitting on crates. That's not the goal either, right? You at least want to have a place to sleep, a place to eat, and a place to, watch TV or something. Now, don't go furnish the whole house. Okay.
Especially don't do it before you close on the property on a credit card. I'm just saying, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Don't use them credit cards before, because they're going to be in your business.
Yes.
They're going to be, don't tell nobody, don't give you no money. Don't do nothing. They want to know, like, somebody had given me money and they was like, oh, where did you get that? I'm just like, they gave me money. And they had to write a letter.
Yeah.
Put it, this person gave me a gift. Like, they're going to be in your business. Wow. Okay. So you want to make sure that during that period of time, you are very diligent about what your finances look like. You have a routine for what your finances look like. But save up a little bit more than just the down payment because it is certainly more than that. And then once you actually purchase your house and you get in there, like I said, don't go crazy trying to furnish the house, because one thing about a house, it always is going to need something. It's always going to need an update. It's you always going to want to change something around. You got the rest of your life, if that's your forever home or whatever your plan is, to change it around and update it. So don't go crazy there, because we see people do that too, right?
Absolutely.
They get it and now you go get $5,000 worth of furniture on a credit card, and now you got debt on top of what your new mortgage payment is and so forth. So there's something called, and you may experience this, called buyer's remorse.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And y'all, I had buyer's remorse when I bought my house. And I was like, this is crazy. Who told me to go do this? You think they can take this thing back? Like, I called my agent, like, I always think he like, nah, you done signed the papers, you done bought it. But buyer's remorse is real, and you'll get over it. Trust me, it's just a new feeling. But you do want to let your finances level out first, especially if it's your first home, because you may not have been used to paying a mortgage, electric, utilities, things of that nature. One of the things I did in buying my first property was we got all of the utility bills from the previous owners for the year. Because I wanted to see, like, was the home efficient? Could I manage the mortgage payment plus what they were paying for the utilities, and about the same. So those are just some of the things you can do.
Yeah. You mentioned a lot of key points, a lot. One of the things that you mentioned not being house poor and all of that and budgeting. So one of the things that I speak to people about, especially if it's their first home, your first home does not have to be your dream home.
Yeah.
Don't jump out there buying the $800,000 house as your first house. If you truly are not at that place in life where you can truly manage an $800,000 house, because an $800,000 house comes with $800,000 bills.
Yes.
Okay, because 9 times out of 10
$800,000 maintenance.
Exactly. So you have to heat that 5,600 square foot house.
Yes.
So you have to cool that 5,600 square foot house. So you don't
mow that 1 acre yard.
Yes, exactly. Now you're having to pay a landscaper. Now you're having to do all of these extra things. So I tell especially a lot of young people, and I have no problem with telling the story. I told the story multiple times. My first property literally was supposed to be an investment property, but it was a crack house. It was a crack house. It was.
I'm laughing that. How did you come across that? What?
I was looking to buy a house, and I was attending the church right next door to the crack house. And the owner of the crack house put a sign in the window for sale by owner. So my sister told me about it. Long story short, I bought the crack house.
Yes.
And I went in there, and when I tell you, the back wall would crumble when I touched the brick. It was horrible. But again, you talk about plan, right?
Yeah.
I had a plan. For one, when you talk about location, I knew this house was in a prime location. It was in the developing area, right? So here I am, 25 years old. My father wanted me to buy a house out in the suburbs somewhere. I could have done that, but I had a vision, right? I said, no, I got this opportunity is here now. I'm going to jump on it. Yeah. So I got taken advantage of by contractors. My dad actually had a stroke the same month I went to closing on this house. It was a rough neighborhood at that time. But I had enough money to fix the second floor, my bedroom, and the other 2 bedrooms up there, the bathroom, and the kitchen. Yeah. We did all of that, right? Yeah. I lived in that house for 2 years with no living room and dining room.
Yep.
2 years. Wow. That was my sacrifice. But prior to that, I had a purple neon, and we talked about the Barney Mobile, right? I drove that purple neon for 8 years. Yeah. 8 years. I sacrificed while my friends were out buying Lexuses and Benzes and all of that stuff. I jumped in their car when we went out, and I sacrificed, and I drove my purple neon, and I lived in a house with no living room and dining room for 2 years until I could finish rehabbing this property. So as a young person, I could have jumped out there wanting people, oh, look at me, I got this big, beautiful house. Yeah. I had a career. I was working in social services, wasn't making a lot of money, but I could have bought a nice little house for myself. Yeah. But I had a vision, right? And I figured, this is going to be my investment. Yeah. I'm young. I don't have any children. Yep. No responsibilities. This is going to be it for me. So the other thing I tell people is really quickly is to look at your budget and look at what you can cut out. For me, one of the things that I tell a lot of people about, you don't need that $200 cable bill. Like, you don't need it. You don't need it. So get Netflix, get Amazon Prime or whatever it is, but get rid of that $200 cable bill. So with that being said, we are out of time. No. I gotta have it come back again, Chris.
We need a part 2.
It was so
We need a part 2.
Because we could spend a whole time talking about how do you get ready? Because I love your story about being at 25, and I was talking to a young person. You know, I moved back from DC out of my nice 2-bedroom apartment with the pool and all these things to move back into my grandmother's house in North Philadelphia with my daughter in a room.
Sacrifice.
Making 6 figures.
Wow.
Sacrifice.
And I was like, no, it's just going to be for 3 months. It was for 3 years, y'all. But I positioned myself so that when I got to where I am now, I don't got to worry about a lot of things.
Yep. Same here.
You know? I don't got to worry about a lot of things. I like that. And you can do it too, okay?
Absolutely.
You can do this too, and we're going to help you.
Absolutely.
Okay? And that's why you're tuned into Real Talk with the Real Estate Diva, because she's helping you. Get this, she's bringing people like me to help you, because it's not just for us. We're not special. We just learned some things differently. So we want to teach you so that you can do this too, right? Because if we can do it,
you can do it.
You can do it.
It's nothing special about us at all.
No.
Yeah, so please give your information. How can people get in contact with you? How can people get a hold of your Young and Financially Lit program?
I'm so proud of you.
Yes, you're proud of me. Thank you. Yo, I kept calling it Young and Financially Fit. I'm sorry. So.
That's because she saw I was slimming down. And she was like, girl, you're looking good. You're looking fit. No, so listen, you can connect with us. You can visit our website, www.ythewordandfl.com, yandfl.com. You can connect with us on Instagram at _Saedah Garrett. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know, they'll put it up here, but it's SIEDAH Garrett with 2 R's and 2 T's. So _Saedah Garrett. Do not follow the fake pages. That's not me. I would never ask you for money, Bitcoin, or anything of the such. Okay. In your DMs, I do pretty good. But we really want to be able to help you understand where you are with your money, with your finances. So if you're looking to be able to build a legacy, build wealth, get a financial plan, we want to be able to help you do those things. So you can connect with us there, or you can give our office a call at 610-227-1728.
All right. Thank you so much. And again, guys, this is Desiree Real Estate Diva for another episode. Just finished up another episode of Real Talk with the Real Estate Diva. I can be reached at 267-238-2877 on Instagram, Facebook, and all of those other social media websites at phillyrealestatediva.com. Until next week, guys, and I'm going to talk to Miss Saedah to see when I can get her to come back. Until next week, guys, be blessed.